Hi, I wanted to go over some basics of our marketing plan assignment since your first deadline with a draft of the first two sections is due next week. So obviously this is in the marketing plan section of Blackboard, of our course Blackboard site. You will notice that there are instructions kind of throughout this entire section. Please make sure that you read through the instructions carefully as you're working on each section. I try to put a little bit of advice in there, so you want to take some time to take a look at that. The first thing I want to talk about though is this product category option. What should you do your marketing plan on? And I give you some recommendations here, but you don't have to use one of the recommendations that I've given you. My main reason for giving the recommendations is because sometimes that's the stopper for people getting started on this, is they just have no idea what they want to do this project on. So I give you some ideas here, basically product categories that I know will be easy for you to research and will be easy for you to conceptualize what it is that you would do in terms of like product features and promotion decisions. Easy to conceptualize who a target market would be. So again, if you're not interested in any of these, if you have another product category that maybe is work related to you or that you have other prior experience with, feel free to propose that to me. Send me a quick email and I will let you know how feasible that might be. I do recommend that you focus on a consumer product as opposed to a product that's for businesses. I also can be open to services, though products do tend to be easier for this project. So if you decide that you want to do this for a service, I'm probably going to want to know that you have some experience with that service industry, just so that I know that you're going to be able to, again, successfully complete the project. Now, you don't have to invent anything, any kind of crazy new product here. You could absolutely be a product that already exists in the marketplace, but you cannot take on the identity of an existing brand. So you can write a marketing plan for, let's say, a running shoe, if you were going to do something in this footwear for hiking or outdoor activity category. You could write a marketing plan for a running shoe, but you can't be Nike, you can't be New Balance, you can't be Brooks. Part of the project you'll see when you get into the product section is that you actually have to propose a brand name that would resonate with whoever your target market is. Okay. So once you've decided on that, and I'll tell you what, give yourself a deadline of, I would say, Thursday. If you don't know, have no idea what your product is going to be for this marketing plan by Thursday, October 1st, then I would recommend talking to me. Call me, send me an email, tell me you're struggling trying to figure out what you want to do this marketing plan on, and then we can talk through some ideas and figure out what some of your choices could be. So let me talk about these first two sections that are due in this first draft review. Please keep in mind that this is a draft review, so you're going to go through, you're going to do the best you can on these sections. Do not skip a section, but again, the idea here is that you are going to get feedback from me in order to improve upon it before that final submission at the end of the course. I don't penalize you for doing something wrong. I do penalize you for just skipping it or not doing it all or not following instructions. So, again, it's a draft. As long as you do a good effort toward it, there's no reason why you shouldn't get full points or almost full points for this draft. That said, keep in mind that it is your responsibility to respond to and to fix anything that we go over in this first draft. You're responsible for making any adjustments before that final marketing plan submission. So let's talk about section 1 first. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the sample that I have posted up there. I do not post samples of all sections. I only post samples of sections 1, 2, and 3. So use these, look at them, but don't copy them. Don't, your marketing plan should not look exactly like mine. You shouldn't necessarily pick the same factors influencing behavior that I've identified. Your market-oriented definition should be different from mine. So make sure, again, that you're not copying these. Just use this as a model to see how it is or what's the best way to approach this. So for my sample, the product is a zoo, which I picked because I figure nobody else is going to want to write a marketing plan for a zoo. In this conceptual overview, we have 3 sections: the market-oriented definition, the product description, and customers. You will notice that I use an outline format. I use the exact outline format that's provided up there in Blackboard. Use that. Keep all the headings and subheadings from that document. The other thing you should notice is that when I have subheadings, I don't have to write anything underneath the big heading. So here I have conceptual overview. I didn't have to write anything under conceptual overview because instead I have 3 subsections: market-oriented definition, product description, and customers. Same thing here. I have customers, and then I don't write anything after customers because this part is subdivided into factors influencing behavior and buying decision behavior. So again, use those headings. It's not important if you use the numbers and the lettering, but it is important that you have headings and subheadings and that you effectively differentiate, maybe in size of font or bolding, between the subheading and between a heading and a subheading. Okay. Market-oriented definition. Read samples of market-oriented definitions from your text. If you look at Chapter 1, you should see some samples that can help you. You want to focus on the need that's being fulfilled by your product. For your product description, you're going to be very brief at this stage, 1 sentence max. You will go into more details about specific product features when we get to the product section. Next, when we look at customers and we look at specifically factors influencing behavior and buying decision behavior, this all connects with Chapter 5. So think back to your reading from Chapter 5. Think about how they discuss factors influencing behavior and buying decision behavior. You want to make sure that you are applying concepts from your textbook. For example, economic situation is a factor influencing behavior. Your product's price is not a factor influencing behavior. So make sure, again, that you maybe reread or take a look at Chapter 5 again. If you have questions, be sure to email me or give me a call and we can talk about this further. But again, read through this sample and get some ideas about how exactly factors influencing behavior can apply. Last thing to keep in mind here is that you want to think about the purchase of your type of product in general. It's not necessarily going to be about your specific product yet. We don't know what your product features are yet. That comes later in the plan. At this stage, we just want to be thinking about what are factors influencing behavior when they purchase your product. So in my case, factors influencing behavior when they go to a zoo. I don't even talk about the zoo in here. I talk about outings and generally speaking things that a family might want to do together. So think about that. You don't want it to be specifically about your brand, your specific product. You want to think about your type of product or that type of purchase decision. Under buying decision behavior, make sure that you pick which buying decision behavior best applies to your situation, and then you need to explain why that applies, addressing specifically level involvement on the part of the consumer and perceived differences between brands. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the Section 2 sample so that we can take a look at this. Marketing intelligence is what we have in Section 2, and this is where we're going to talk about the macro environment and then competition, both direct competition and indirect competition. So you will see in the macro environment, and this goes back to Chapter 3 when we talked about that marketing environment, and you're going to look specifically, pick any 3 categories of macro environmental factors that you think are most relevant to your situation. I picked demographic, political, and economic environment. Okay. One thing you will notice here is that I have sources listed here. In other words, I don't just make casual observations. I don't just say, hey, this is the way it is. I try to find support or find documentation to help kind of support what I'm saying is the trend here. With demographic, political, economic, any part of the macro environment, remember you want to talk about trends and you want to fully explain what the trends are that are out there and how they apply to your industry or why they are relevant to your industry. If you do not talk about trends here, then you're not getting at what's going on. Keep in mind, macro environment, you're looking at things outside of the company. So that's why this is the place where you would actually do some research. Look at some industry specific, maybe publications. Look at some business publication websites. And get some ideas. For example, if you were going to do a restaurant, let's say, then I would look at the National Restaurant Association's website and see what kind of information or data they have on that website, what kind of trends they're identifying that would be important for you to consider. If you're not sure about possible sources for this information, then contact me. Once I know what your product is, then I can offer some better advice in terms of what sources you would want to use. The next part of this is the competition piece. You want to look at direct competition and indirect competition. Direct competition are other types of competitors that are doing pretty much the same thing that you are. And then you want to make sure that you organize your list in a meaningful way. So in my case, looking at a zoo, what I did is I said there were basically 3 categories of basic competition. Other zoos, family-friendly museums and gardens, and other family destination entertainment. So this is how I organized this in a meaningful way. The idea being that I viewed the competition as other things that people could do with their day off, other enjoyable activities that somebody can enjoy on their own, with a loved one, with family, and whatnot. So this is what you will, again, this is how I have organized it. You could look at it completely different. You might not have 3 categories when you organize your direct competition, but maybe instead you organize your competitors based on price point. Or types of retailers where the product is made available. It is not meaningful to organize your competition alphabetically. Okay, so don't do that. You have to find a more meaningful way. You will notice that I don't describe anybody here. Okay, in direct competition, I don't have to describe anybody. Instead, I use my basis for organization. That's what adds depth. That's what kind of explains who these different competitors are. Indirect competition are other kinds of products or services that I compete for wallet space with. Okay, so in this indirect competition category, I don't need company names like I had up here. I had all very specific destinations and company names. Down here, in indirect competition, you can have just product types. And so again, other things that people would do with their leisure time, books, TV videos, park districts, enrichment classes, things like that. Okay? So then the last thing I have in this part is to look at a leading competitor and talk about the strengths and weaknesses of that competitor. Make sure that you have a little depth to this. Make sure that you research that company, look at their website. And talk about, again, identifying what would be some key strengths and weaknesses. Remember, strengths and weaknesses are going to be specific to that competitor. They're not trends. They're not opportunities or threats. These are things that are specific to that particular competitor. And so again, that's why you need to research this and probably peruse their website some. So that takes us through these first 2 sections, okay? This is the link you will use to submit on October 6th, these first 2 sections. I will send out an email about this after I'm returning these, but you do get the feedback on these a little bit differently than you do on the assignments. You will see that I put more, I actually download your documents and put feedback and then repost your documents to make it easier for you to be able to go in and look at that information and make whatever changes you have. So I will come back again in a couple weeks and we'll go into more detail about Section 3, but for right now, hopefully you're in a good place to get started on your marketing plan. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Thanks.